Hey. Welcome back to my Business Monday. I'm your host, Trish. Happy New Year. I want to talk directly to the person listening right now who's been sitting on a business idea for months, maybe even years. Because if you've been telling yourself, this is the year I'm finally going to start, this episode is for you. This episode is called New Year, New Business, Why This is the Year You Start. Because 2026 is not about waiting for permission. It's not about being perfectly ready. And it's definitely not about having everything figured out. This is the year you stop sitting on the idea that keeps tapping you on the shoulder. If you've been telling yourself, one day when the timing is right, when I have more money, when I feel more confident. Today we're talking about why momentum beats motivation, why clarity comes after action, and why starting imperfectly is the only real way forward. So whether you're thinking about launching a business, a side hustle, a service, or finally turning your experience into income, this is your sign. Let's get into it. Let me tell you why starting when you're 80% ready is exactly when you're supposed to start. Because if you're waiting until everything is perfect, you'll still be waiting the same time next year. Perfect is a moving target. There's always one more thing to fix, one more class to take, one more piece of equipment to buy, one more reason to delay. And a lot of people say, I'll start when I feel more confident. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. You don't gain confidence by waiting. You gain confidence by doing, by showing up, by trying, by figuring it out as you go. Clarity doesn't come by thinking. It comes from doing. You don't need a perfect plan. You need momentum. And when you start at 80%, you give yourself room to learn, adjust, and grow in real time. So if you're waiting for the stars to align, this is your reminder. They already have. Let me give you a real life example. When I was thinking about starting this podcast, I was waiting for a possible partner to join me as a co-host, waiting to decide which path to take, waiting for clarity, waiting for everything to fall into place. I kept telling myself, once I have it all figured out, then I'll start. But the truth is, if I kept waiting, I'd still be waiting today. And then I remembered something that stuck with me. Start when you're 80% ready. You don't need the full blueprint. You just need enough clarity to take the first step. So I started the podcast without a co-host, without everything mapped out, without knowing exactly where it would lead. And I learned the other 20% as I went. I learned by recording, by showing up, by adjusting, by doing. And that's when confidence showed up. That's when clarity came. That's when momentum was built. And that's exactly why I'm telling you. If you're waiting for everything to fall into place before you start, you're doing it backwards. Start first, learn along the way. So let me ask you, what have you been sitting on? An idea? A service? A business you keep talking yourself out of? If you've been thinking about starting something for months or even years, this is the year you stop waiting. Because another year from now, you can either be in the same place or you can be further down the road, learning, growing, and building momentum. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. One of the biggest reasons people don't start a business has nothing to do with money, timing, or talent. It's fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of starting over, fear of hearing someone say, that's already been done. And if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. I actually did a full episode on fear, how it shows up, how it lies to us, and how it keeps us stuck. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, scroll back and listen after this one. It pairs perfectly with today's conversation. Because fear doesn't disappear when you start. You start despite fear. Another thing that keeps people stuck is waiting for clarity. We tell ourselves, once I'm clear, then I'll start. But here's the truth. Clarity does not come before action. Clarity comes from action. I did an entire episode on clarity because this is where people get trapped. Thinking instead of moving. If you feel overwhelmed, foggy, or unsure, go back and listen to that episode as well. Clarity is built through movement, not perfection. Let me say this clearly. You don't need a never-been-done-before idea to start a business. Because the truth is, almost everything has already been done. What matters is how you do it. Your voice, your experience, your personality. That's what makes it different. Take Starbucks, for example. Starbucks didn't invent coffee. They didn't invent cafes. They changed the experience. They created a place where people could sit, work, meet, and feel a sense of belonging. Same product, completely different approach. And that's how most successful businesses are built. And I want to give you another real example of my own. I didn't invent the concierge business. I didn't invent helping seniors. What I did was take my experience, my community, and a real problem I kept seeing. And I built a senior concierge service one step at a time. No investors, no perfect plan, just action. And today that business is real, it's running, and it's helping people. And because so many people kept asking me, how did you do that? I turned it into a course so others can do it too. Not theory, not hype, just a real business built from real life. Here's where most people really get stuck. They think they need to do everything before they do anything. You don't. You need one step, just one. That could be writing the idea down, telling one person, buying the domain, recording a voice memo, making one post. Momentum comes from movement, not perfection. If you've been sitting on an idea for months or even years, let this be your sign. Not everything you start has to be perfect. Not everything you start has to last forever. But nothing changes if you don't start. And if you've been thinking about starting a business and you've been sitting on that idea for far too long, 2026 is your year to move. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this. You don't need to be 100% ready to start. You need to be brave enough to begin at 80%. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. So take one small step today. Send the email, make the call, record the first episode, register the business. Do the thing you've been avoiding. And stay tuned for our Thursday Senior Living episode, where I sit down with an incredible woman who retired at 65 and went on to become a documentary producer. You will not want to miss how she did it and why it's never too late to start something new. Thank you for tuning in to Ride to Independence. Make sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and watch our interviews on YouTube. And if you're thinking about starting a business or need guidance on what's standing in your way, I now offer a one-on-one support. You can email me at trishridetoindependence@gmail.com for more information. Until next time, keep driving your dreams to reality, one step at a time.